Danny Segura for MMAJunkie.com here in our New York City studios. Today we're chatting with a very special guest. He's one of the most successful, or the most successful champion to ever compete in the UFC. He's also gonna soon be attempting to add another belt to his collection, but this time over at One Championship. Let's welcome Demetrious Johnson, who joins us via Skype. Demetrious, thank you for taking time out of your day to do this interview.
No worries, man. Thanks for having me.
All right, so like I said, you're getting ready for a pretty big fight, your first title shot here at One. I know you won the Flyweight World Grand Prix. First of all, how does it feel? Because for the first time since 2012, you're a challenger. I know in 2012 when you fought for the Flyweight belt, it was vacant, but nonetheless, I mean, it's been a long time since you've been in a position like this, right?
Yeah, I mean, I feel exactly the same. I don't see myself as a challenger. I see myself just another athlete going to compete and try to win a fight and win a world title, you know? I mean, even when I was a champion in North America, I didn't see myself as, you know, I don't know. I don't see people as the challenger or the champion. I just see two athletes going to compete, and that's about it.
Yeah. So you're fighting Adriano Moraes, who's currently holds the belt. First of all, you're now 3 fights in at One, so it almost feels like you earned the title shot. It wasn't that you came over and then, you know, because you were Demetrious Johnson, here you go, here's the title shot. And I know you've always been vocal about fairness in division and really like stuck with the sport side of things. You know, citing your days in the UFC when Dillashaw tried to come down to 125, you're like, look, there's contenders that have put in the work, and I'm down to fight you, but they deserve it. How does it feel to, you know, earn the title shot this way? Like, do you kind of see what I'm talking about here?
100%. I've always believed that's how it should be. You know, obviously, I think there's a pecking order. You know, there's guys who've been in a division a lot longer than I have been. So the one way that One Championship wanted to do it was to take all the best athletes in that division. You know, Kairat Akhmatov, Denny Kindad, Tatsumi Tawada, Yuya Wakamatsu. I believe even Jay Eustaquio was in the tournament at one point. Actually, no, he tore his hamstring. Gets Adriano Moraes. So they took all the best athletes in that division and put them in a tournament to see who's going to get the next title shot. And obviously I came out victorious, and now I've earned my title shot. Instead of, you know, if I were to run my gums or bump my gums, you know, it could have earned me a title shot, or just the pedigree I came into the organization with how much I've already accomplished could have warranted a title shot. But, you know, I'm not above working for a title shot. You know, I proved myself, won 3 fights in a row. I fought the number 1 contender, I believe. You know, Denny Kindad, he's probably the only guy who's, you know, lost to Adriano Moraes. And it's great. You know, now I get a chance to fight for the world title.
Yeah. And what have you made of Moraes? Like, have you gotten time to, and I know we're still fairly early in your training camp, right? But have you gotten time to analyze him and break him down?
Yeah, just a little bit. You know, at the end of the day, I stopped watching a lot of the guys I compete against, because at the end of the day, you know, it's how he fights against that specific person. You know, obviously when I go in to compete, I bring a different type of speed, a different type of skill set. And he also brings a different type of skill set, you know, into the cage when we compete against each other. So watch a little bit. Great athlete, very long, very big for the weight class, very long, rangy, great grappler, obviously, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belt. So we're doing everything we can, prepare the best to our ability to go out there and get the victory.
And just for the record, I know One operates differently, and I know that's why I'm asking. Normally, maybe in a North American promotion, having somebody with your status, your name, coming to the promotion usually means immediate title shot, right? But I know One does things differently. Was that ever offered to you, or?
No, it was never offered. You know, when I got my opportunity to compete with One Championship, they were like, we're gonna throw a flyweight world for a Grand Prix, and the best athletes are going to be in the division in the tournament. Same through Eddie Alvarez. You know, Eddie Alvarez, everything he's accomplished, not in just the UFC, but also in Bellator champion, lightweight champion, UFC lightweight champion, and now, you know, he's coming to One Championship, a very big name. I'm sure if they wanted to give him a title shot, I don't think anybody would have been like, what the F? You know, why did he get a title shot? But same thing for me. You know, I came in there and they threw the Grand Prix, and it worked out perfect. You know, like you see, I'm getting a title shot, and Eddie Alvarez, he got beat the first round, and so now he's working his way back up to earn himself a title shot. And then the person who beat Eddie Alvarez tore his knee, and then a replacement stepped in, and at the very end of it, you had the champion of that division step it up to actually take Eddie Alvarez's place to fight Doggy. So I mean, let's stay with those tournaments, man. It's not just about winning the fights; it's about staying healthy enough to get to the next fight to be able to compete.
And I wanted to ask you, you mentioned Eddie Alvarez there. He had a rough start in his one career, and I think that opened like the eyes to many people. Like, whoa, like you know, these guys are pretty good, right? A lot of people were talking about that because people just thought that you guys were gonna go in there and everybody, right? But obviously, we've seen that the competition is there tough. I guess if you can you compare the level of competition to the UFC to one? Like, is there a sizable difference, or you feel like one's better than the other?
I think you have great athletes all around the world, not just in UFC, One Championship, Ryzen, LF, PFL, whatever else is out there. And there's great athletes out in the world who aren't even discovered yet. You know what I mean? But the biggest difference I would say is that these guys have been doing it for a long time. You know, when I look at like guys like Danny King Daddy, I mean, he was a Wushu champion. When I look at Tatsumi Tawada, he was a deep champion. So you got guys who've been doing this for a very, very long time that are well experienced. Two is, I believe, sometimes in North America, you have guys who come in from, a great wrestling background or came from, a different, a feeder league into the bigger league where it wasn't, a big, Deep in Japan is huge. Deep has produced so many great martial artists. I think Kiyamamoto was a Deep champion, I believe. I don't know if Kyojo Horiguchi was. But their roots over there just run a little bit deeper than it does in North America, in my opinion.
I mean, Deep has like a million events like logged in, like they've been around for a long time.
Exactly. So I mean, that's what I mean. Like over there, you have, Shuto, you have guys come from like legit like killers coming from those feeder things. They make killers, and I'm not saying North America doesn't make killer guys as well. I mean, you look at Sean O'Malley. I mean, he came from one of the feeders there, and look, he's out there slaying them down.
Yeah, for sure. And you're 3 fights in. I mean, you're not a veteran or one veteran, but you've gotten a feel of things. Was the experience that you've had so far the one that you imagine you'd be having entering one? Like, how's your experience been?
Experience been fantastic. Being an athlete and competing as a foreigner over in Japan, Manila, traveling to Singapore to train at my second gym, Evolve MMA. It's been awesome. Obviously this fight is going to be moved, so it's over in Asia, obviously. But with the coronavirus, they're still looking for another place. I don't think they've announced where the next venue is going to be at. But I'll go over to Singapore early to finish up my camp at Evolve MMA. And I love it. I'm used to going to Vegas, 2.5-hour flight, driving down there, making sure the weight's good, cutting, 5 or 6 pounds, been going 25. But now I'm like, I got a 19-hour flight just to get to my first destination, which is Singapore. Trained there for about 6 days to get acclimated to the time zone, jump on another plane, fly to the next location, get adjusted there, and then go out there and fight, at their time zone. So that's the biggest thing is getting adjusted to the time zone. My last fight, I felt the best because I fought on my time zone. I fought at TNT's time zone. The other 2 times, obviously, I was battling, SIBO on antibiotics or whatnot. But so it's just adjustment of the time zone. The travel is a little bit more.
Yeah, it's funny you mention the time zone because a lot of, I guess, some of the criticism that like Japanese and just Asian fighters have had in general is like when they come over to the U.S. they have like a tough time, but people are like they were so killers back in Asia, and I guess a time zone has to do a lot with it, right? I mean, you're just mentioning
100%, man. Anybody who thinks time zone is not a joke, like even when I competed in North America, I hated fighting in the East Coast. I couldn't stand it. I was like, why am I fighting at 12:30 a.m.? Nobody fights at 12:30 a.m. I tell you, you want to know who fights at 12:30 a.m.? People who beat their wives and people who come home drunk from the bar, and I'm neither of those people. So can we start the card at 6 p.m., please? So I was always a big fan of fighting at early. Like I want to get it done early. 5 p.m. Start time, main event at 7 p.m. That was my favorite time zone. So when I went over to Asia, Japan the last time, literally like my time zone, I was spot on. And everybody says that's the Demetrious Johnson we know. Like your speed, your movement, everything was spot on when I fought Danny King because I was on my own time zone. When I have to go to a different time zone and get adjusted to it, it's a lot more work that goes into it than just, oh, I'm gonna fly here and fight. It's a lot more that goes into it. So that's why I give myself 10 days or 11 days to get adjusted.
Yeah. Preach, and I'll give you those emojis because I cover this sport for a living, and I'm here in the East Coast, so I'm always working till like super late with all the fights and stuff. So yeah, it'd be amazing if they started earlier. I guess how many fights did you sign with ONE for? Like, how many do you have left in your contract?
None of your goddamn business.
All right. Just asking.
I will retire at one championship. This is my last. This is my last organization. I love this organization. I love everything they stand for. I love how they take care of their athletes. So this is my last. This is it. Like once I'm done and I'm retired, I'm like, I'm done. I'm peace. Because there's nothing else for me to prove for North America. There truly isn't. Now I'm trying to make a statement, not a statement, but I'm trying to, make something of myself over here in Asia. And if I'm able to get another piece of gold, fantastic. If not, I look to, put on some great spectacular performances. Fighting North America for pretty much majority of my career. And each time I travel to Asia, they're like, can you please come over here and fight for us? We want to see you fight live. We want to see you fight live. I'm like, okay, maybe one day I will. Now I'm over here fighting live for them. So I'm giving them what they wanted.
Yeah.
And I wanted it.
And when you mentioned like you want to retire at ONE, I mean, do you see yourself having like a lengthy career at ONE, or do you think the retirement's fairly close?
I give myself 5 more years. It all depends on the body, right? Like I'm 33 years old. I fought 3 times last year. I think I'll probably fight twice this year. So as long as my body and I'm having fun with it, I'm enjoying it, I'm just gonna keep on going, But if I start, getting knocked out and getting CTE and concussion, broken bones, I'm like, no, it ain't worth it. I'll figure something else out.
Yeah, for sure. And I was asking because one of the things you mentioned when you were in the UFC is like you thought it'd be cool to like go elsewhere and just pick up a bunch of different belts. I mean, aesthetically it looks awesome. I saw your ONE Grand Prix belt and that thing looks badass. So, I was just curious to see if maybe you were interested in exploring other options as well.
No, I'm done. I mean, obviously, as time goes on and you keep on fighting and your body doesn't recover like it used to, I'm just being a realist. You know what I mean? I'm 33 years old. If I put 5 years at ONE, that's what, 33. I'm going to be 38 years old, if my math correctly, right? 38, 39. Then I'll be like, yeah, I think I'm done.
Yeah. When you're have you thought about like life post fighting? Is like gaming gonna consume everything, or do you have any other avenues? Do you still plan on being still involved with the sport? Like, what would retirement look like for you?
If I'm smart with my money, I just do whatever I want to do. Excuse my language. But yeah, obviously, I think mixed martial arts is always gonna be part of my life. Obviously, I would love to help out teammates of mine and help them through the same journey that I've gone through as a professional athlete. But, obviously a little bit gaming, but, I've always been very smart with my money, right? And so ever since I remember fighting my very first fight in WEC, and I remember being there in the locker room. Dana White was like, I'm going to give $65,000 to fight at night, knock on a night, and submission at night. And I remember being in the car, and I'm like, man, I'm about to buy me WRX STI. I cannot wait. And I remember my coach, Matt, turned around. He goes, no, you're not. He goes, you're going to buy a house. You're going to invest. That's what you're going to do. So I've always been good with my money ever since that first fight in WEC. And that was back in 2010. So I got what? No, yeah, I think it was 2010. Yeah, 2010. So I'm 10 years deep in the game. I've been very successful in my career so far. And I only look to be even more successful. So my goal is after I'm done, I can decide whatever I want to do.
Yeah. Awesome to hear. And back to fighting and fighting for the belt. You win that ONE championship belt. What do you think it does to your legacy? And also, like, in the pound-for-pound conversation, because you're still up there. I mean, what you did in the UFC is hard to top, man.
Yeah, it's going to be another notch on the belt. It's going to be another notch in the accolades of all the things I've done in my mixed martial arts career. My goal is just to go down as one of the best to ever do it in my career. 15, 20 years from now, people who jump in the sport of mixed martial arts, they're going on YouTube to type in Demetrious Johnson's Mighty Whiz Bar. That's what it's about for me, just to leave a name and put on great fights.
Do you think it'll reignite? Because, like, for example, when Ryan Bader became champ at Bellator, like, people kind of started talking about him in a certain way. Same thing with Patricio Pitbull, right? Like they were talking about him when he became champ as well. So I'm curious, if you win the belt, do you think there'll be some traction again going with that conversation? Obviously, like involving you.
It could or it couldn't. I'm not worried about it, to be honest with you. I'm just worried about going out there and winning and, you know, put on great performances, because that conversation is always going to change. It's always going to change. You're gonna be like, oh, he's over in Asia. Oh, well, he didn't do it in North America. Oh, he should have fought. It's always going to go back and forth. So when you start chasing that, when you start chasing people, you know, I guess, you know, their acceptance, that you're wasting your time, because, you know, for me, like I said, I'm focused on winning my fights and put on great fights. And, you know, people want to keep having that conversation with me, having that conversation as me being one of the greatest to ever do it. It's fantastic, but, you know, I'm not going to sit here and cry and pout and whine about it. I got other things to worry about in my life and career.
That's true. Yeah, and I wanted to ask you this. A big storyline in 2019 was, you know, the status of the flyweight division over in the UFC. Like, they were discussing about cutting it. Obviously, it was never out in the open, but we heard rumblings. A lot of fighters that were cut, they were saying, look, this is it. Like, they're telling me, like, the division's over. We saw a lot of guys bump up in weight as well. I'm curious, did these conversations ever got brought up when you were champion over there?
Yeah, of course it has. I was outspoken about it, but it is what it is. I understand the company's about making money, right? And if they felt like the division wasn't making money, then go ahead, scrap it. And that's it. I was like, go ahead, close the division. And I'll scrap to 135. We do new contract, et cetera, et cetera. But, you know, I'm glad the division is still moving forward. I'm glad Joseph Benavidez is getting his chance to fight for the title again. I wish both athletes nothing but the best. And I look forward to see who's going to be, you know, the third champion of the flyweight division.
Yeah, it's going to be a good fight. And Joseph Benavidez, he you know, you guys inaugurated that division, so it's sort of nice seeing him. You know, everything's coming full circle for him. And I want to ask you, you saw what Henry Cejudo did to save the flyweight division, right? Like all the media stuff and everything he was doing. I don't know if you're aware. Yeah.
Yes, I did.
Do you kind of almost look at that, because that looks exhausting, and you've always, like, you know, talked about, like, sort of that aspect of the game, how it hasn't interested you. Were you looking at from far and being like, oh, thank God, you know, I didn't have to do that?
No, not at all. I mean, I wasn't going to change. This is who I am, right? This is who I am. I'm not going to put on a mask or pretend I'm somebody who I'm not. This is who I am. I'm a dude who likes to come home, take care of his wife and kids. And then when everybody's asleep, I have to play some video games, World of Warcraft or PUBG, and that's how I go to the gym and I bust my ass. This is who I am. I can relate to half of the people in the world, just a hardworking man. So I'm happy that Henry Cejudo was able to do that, I guess you can say, and be able to be very successful defending the belt and going up and becoming the bantamweight champion as well. So yeah, I'm happy he was able to do it.
You cracked up there. Was it entertaining for you, at least, watching the Triple C and all the cringe stuff?
It was more entertaining when people came and told me, "What the fuck is this dude doing? Well, is he really going to be fighting women now? Is that what he wants to do, fight women?" I'm like, guys, don't worry about it. Triple C is doing what he wants to do, and then I go, he's doing exactly what he's doing exactly what he wants you to do. Just talk about him, right? And so that I got more kick out of that when people, I'll be working out or just hanging out. My buddy come over and goes, "What's this dude doing?" I'm like, "What are you talking about?" And he'll tell me what he said.
Yeah, it was definitely entertaining, to say the least. But yeah, it was entertaining to watch his whole build up. And look, he did it, right? He saved the division, in a way, because.
Did he?
Well, yeah. I mean, the division's still around. They're having a title fight, right? I hope, right? Knock on wood. I like the flyweights. Are you kind of glad it's sticking around? Because, I mean, you owned that for such a long time. Is it kind of nice to see that, you know, other flyweights do have a home there? Or for now, yeah.
Yeah, of course. And that's the thing. That's not the only. That's the problem. Everybody thinks that's the only home in the world. It's not the only home in the world. I mean, you look at Sergio Pettis. He went on Bellator. He's fighting at 135. 135, I think. I'm pretty sure he made a good penny. He probably got paid more than half the flyweights on the UFC roster. So, I mean, that's not the only home. I mean, look at me. I'm over in one championship. Look at Eddie Alvarez. He's over in one championship. You look at Kyojo Horiguchi. He's in Ryzen. You look at Lance Palmer. He's in PFL. He's making $1 million. He's made $2 million, right? I mean, there's many great organizations out in the world, and for people to think that, you know, there's only one that's gonna let you have a great living or whatever, you're living in a box.
Yeah. You think people are too blinded by that, like the brand UFC itself?
It could. I don't think that. I mean, it could be both sides. I think it'd be the athletes and then also be, you know, the public itself, right? Because a lot of people think that there's something else out there, right? You know, me and you spoke about it before in the beginning of the conversation about Eddie Alvarez versus Timothy Nasty Nukin. He's a nasty dude. I mean, that guy's got snipers for hands. I mean, you look at Christian Lee. What he did to Doggy was absolutely amazing on short notice to come in there and fight, you know, a guy like Doggy. I mean, if you look at, you know, the kickboxing, or you look at Rodtang, you know, the Muay Thai over one championship. I mean, there's just literally so much more. I mean, if I were to show any person in North America one championship, a Muay Thai fight with MMA gloves on, the people who hate grappling, they're wrestling each other, they're making love to each other. Let me show you some one super series. Let me show you some one Muay Thai. Like when I sat there front row watching Walter Conclaves versus Rodtang, it was so, one, it was amazing to watch. But then there was a part of me where it was like, oh God, concussion, CTE, It was absolutely amazing. So there's more outside of the world. But once again, if North America audience are only exposed to what North America is only seeing, they'll never know what's outside the box.
And I don't want to hold you for much longer, but I do want to ask you this. I know, like, you're not worried about what people think about you and all that, and you've always had that, and I think that actually has brought a lot of peace to just to your life, just not being able to worry about other people's opinions and whatnot, because, you know, us, the media, we do talk about, I admit it, we do talk a lot about that, and it seems a lot of fighters sometimes get caught up in that. But from a competitive standpoint, looking at Henry Cejudo, you guys are one apiece. Right? And since his stock has grown, obviously becoming bantamweight champion as well, does part of you ever want to get that trilogy in and settle things with him, or from a competitive standpoint, or no?
So I'm not, when you say like competitive standpoint on stuff, I always look what's ahead of me, right? And what's ahead of me is Adriano Moraes, right? And then obviously, like, I just don't, like, that's like me thinking about like the Brad Pickett, the Dominic Cruz.
Right.
Like those fights I've lost, right? Do I ever think about trying to get those back? Not, I don't even blink. I don't even think about it. It's not in my my thing. But if the opportunity arose where for some reason, you know, Henry Cejudo was to end up in one championship and he was working his way up to, you know, and then let's say I beat Adriano Moraes and I become the champion and he's over there. Yeah, I would love to fight him again. But am I going to sit here and like, it's something I don't really think about, I should say. Yeah.
Awesome. All right. Well, last question. You're a big gamer. Any games that we should be watching out for, or what's up with you with your gaming and your streaming? What's the latest on that?
Man, we got obviously PUBG just dropped a new map, Kraken. I think it's Kraken. I don't know how to say it right. Each time I play it, I just hit play and try to go to it. We got Resident Evil 3 remake coming out in March. We got not Resident Evil. We got a Final Fantasy 7 remake coming out. Those are the two big games I'm looking forward to playing. World of Warcraft, Shadowlands is coming out. I'm looking forward to that. Diablo 4 is coming out. See, there's just so many titles that are coming out that I just can't wait to play. And there's always new things. We got PlayStation 5. No, PlayStation 4. I think it's PlayStation 5.
They got 4's out.
5 coming out, and the new Xbox is coming out. So obviously when those new games come out, they got new titles coming out as well. I mean, but I'm an origin PC guy. I play on the PC, so there's so much stuff coming out in the gaming world.
Yeah. The PC's for the hardcores. I mean, I play Xbox, and whenever I play, you know, PC players on Fortnite, it's like, you know, there's levels to this game, right? It's just some other thing.
Well, that's because they got mouse and keyboard, so they're able to react a lot faster than you can. But, you know, I play games with Sean O'Malley, and he kind of holds his own against the PC players. I mean, we play together. He's way better at Fortnite. He can build. I can't build for shit. I'm like, I can't build. I'm not going to build a house to try to fight you. I just want to hide and duck, and that's why I like PUBG better. Yeah, for sure. All right, well, Demetrious, I appreciate the time. Thank you so much for joining me. Best of luck in your title fight. Just to remind people again, it'll be against Adriano Moraes on April 11th. So best of luck in that, and thank you for doing this interview, man. Thanks, brother. Have a good night.